I'm going to try to address what I see as an issue with our current refugee crisis. And I'm going to use this article from the BBC as a background a little bit, or at least for the start. Migration to Europe explained in 7 charts. I dislike to use the word migration in this case because I do see a difference in a migrant and a refugee. But for all that matters, it's apples and oranges, so I'm not going to argue that too much. The main problem I have is that when we talk about a refugee crisis, we talk about people coming in from Syria, from the Middle East. And to me, this is somewhat unfair, especially considering we have a civil war going on at the border of Europe, which we seem to neglect or hardly ever mention. Anyway, this is the article, and I'm going to scroll down with you. Top 10 origins of people applying for asylum in the European Union. And you will see Syria being the topmost and Ukraine being the smallest one. So, how come Ukraine, being so small, uh, group of people coming here and apply for refugee status? Because we keep the borders closed. We tell them they are not welcome. The European Union does not consider the Ukraine unsafe. How the hell is that possible? But I digress. Let's continue. So, where are the migrants going? Well, if we look at this chart, we see that Poland has, well, let's say a multiple side of 10,000, and Germany has more than 500,000 of refugees. And Poland already claimed very clearly that Poland does not want to take in Syrian refugees unless they're Christian. So let us assume that Poland is one of the few countries that is actually taking in Ukrainian refugees. Fair enough. Where are the rest of the Ukrainian refugees going to? We don't know. It doesn't show. How do migrants get to Europe? Well, from the Ukraine, it's a walk, basically. Um, if we look at the other countries, they go by boat. This is to Italy, or from Turkey to Greece, and from Greece we go into Europe. Not quite sure why Bulgaria seems to be part of this story, but okay, fair enough. How dangerous is the journey? Well, people going by sea die in the sea. This happens. This happens too often. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay this. Okay, migrant death in the Mediterranean by month. Okay, this is a problem. To me, one would be a problem. I mean, I can still remember that movie of the kid washing up on the beach, or the movie, not the movie, the pictures, which is dreadful. I mean, this is the stuff nightmares are made of. Don't get me wrong. So, how are we going to deal with the migrant crisis? Which European countries are most affected? Well, although Germany has the most asylum applications, Hungary has the highest in proportions. Yeah, probably because people are still waiting, or they're trying to move through. Anyway, these are a lot of countries where a lot of people are going to. Most of these are, again, Syrians. Poland is scoring pretty low with just 32 uh, per 100,000 population. But then Poland only has, well, only, most of them are from the Ukraine. And even that is in a limited number. Are we talking about how we're going to help Poland pick up the Ukrainian refugees? No. Okay. Weird. number of people countries have agreed to relocate from Greece and Italy. See, Poland has agreed to help out. But funny enough, people relocate from Greece and Italy. I'm pretty sure there are no Ukrainians there. I know I sound like how do you call it, a one horse trick or something. I keep repeating myself, but this is the main issue I have with the way we look at the current migration patterns. We look at one thing and one thing only, those coming from the Middle East, those coming from Africa. How come we're not looking at the ones coming from our very border? I don't get this, people. I seriously don't get this. And the worst part is, and I'm going to scroll back up because I like the pictures. What the hell? Well, I don't like the pictures, but they're very good pictures. And the worst part is, we, the European Union, have agreed to pay Turkey 6 billion euro to stem the movement from refugees to Europe and to help people there. And I'm like, why are we spending 6 billion euro on Turkey when we could easily have spent that money in Greece, get their economy going, build stuff up there so we can help people there, and from there distribute them, which is a terrible thing to talk about when you talk about humans. Humans you do not distribute, but okay, fair enough. And then at least we have a better view of what's going on. And then there will be people saying, yeah, but they die when they get to us by boat. Okay, then don't let them get to us by boat. Go pick them up. Have a refugee camp on the border of Turkey or on the border of Syria or whatever. Yeah? When people come to that refugee camp, there you inventorize who they are, where they're from, etc., etc., etc. And from there, you bring them. You yourself bring them to Europe. You bring them to the country they are going to, not the country they want to go to, the country they are going to. They're refugees. Beggars cannot be choosers. If they want to choose, then okay, fair enough. You're not a refugee. If you're not a refugee, I don't care. If you are a refugee, your main problem is not where am I going, but get the fuck out of here. If your main problem is get the fuck out of here, where you're going is not an issue. Anyway, we spent 6 billion euro on Turkey so that Turkey can keep threatening us with flooding Europe with refugees. How did we get to this situation? I don't get this. Well, let's look at the Ukraine situation then. European Commission Humanitarian Aid and Civil Protection ECHO fact sheet. Ukraine. Estimated number of people in need of humanitarian aid 3.1. Okay. Casualties not that interesting. Emergency early recovery assistance. Let's say 270. I like round numbers. And European Commission's own humanitarian aid, let's say 70 again, I like round numbers. That makes 340 million euro. Well, that's a lot of money. There are days I do not have 340 million euros. And basically that's every day of my life. So yeah, that's a lot of money. How much is it compared to the money we're spending on the Syrian refugees though? Let me think. 6 billion. So Turkey is getting 6 billion to help deal with the Syrian refugee crisis. And we're thinking about that might be up to 10 million people, though only a million of them roughly are coming to Europe. 10 million, 3 million. Okay, so 3 million is like a third. That would suggest that Ukraine would be able to get 2 billion to have the rough same numbers, but they're actually getting 340. million, which is, ooh, let's say it's a third of a third of a third. I don't get this. How come we're spending so much money on the refugees of Syria and so very, very little on the refugees from the Ukraine? And the Ukraine is at the border of Europe. After all, Ukraine and Poland share a border. And there are Ukrainians already going into Poland. And we are angry at Poland because they do not want to help with the Syrian refugees, but we totally ignore the fact that they already have to deal with the Ukrainian refugees. So, why is Europe not seeing the Ukrainian situation as a justified problem? And I know Poland isn't the greatest of countries to begin with, and I think they're already talking about how they can build a wall. After all, building walls is all the rage nowadays. But at the same time, I can understand Poland a little bit. Because we're giving 6 billion euro to Turkey to deal with the Syrian problem. But the Ukrainian problem? Nah, fuck it. Who cares? They're not Muslim, they're white. So, they're privileged. I'm sorry, I had to make the privileged joke. It's stupid, I know. It doesn't make sense though. And I can understand Poland now also trying to be more restrictive when it comes to Ukrainian refugees. Because Poland isn't a rich country to begin with. And how stupid must it seem to the Polish people knowing that 6 billion euro is going to Turkey so that that country may help try to prevent refugees coming to Europe when we have a civil war on our very doorstep, which Europe is ignoring. Poland isn't. They can't. I mean, they're right next door. People are walking over the border as we speak, and blame them. I mean, I don't think I would stay in Ukraine if I were there. Well, if I would, I'd probably die trying to get away. And this is not true for every person in Ukraine. Ukraine is not like Syria. But at the same time, there is a civil war going. There are people being displaced. And we're ignoring that. Oh, I wanted to scroll down a little bit. Oops, these are some um, funded projects. And I love this. I mean, safe drinking water and hygiene supplies. Yeah, that's necessary. I mean, food, water, and shelter. Yeah, that's necessary. It's not as if we're spending so much money for unnecessary things. I mean, yeah, cash assistance. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Fair enough. I don't really think that cash is the one thing they need. I mean, yeah, we give them cash so they can get food and other stuff. Shouldn't we then just get them food? Wouldn't that be cheaper? But then again, maybe not, because if we give them cash and they use that cash to build their own economy again, but they won't build their own economy because they're still fighting. And these people that you see in this small picture here, they're not fighting. Just like not every Muslim is a terrorist, not every Ukrainian person is a freedom fighter or a rebel. Why are we blind to this? Europe, when are we going to look to the Ukraine? It's not as if they have no problems. I guess the real problem is, though, that Europe has painted itself in a corner thanks to Angela Merkel, and we are still following Germany. And they said okay to the Syrians. And whether they did that because they felt guilty or any other reason we can think of, Doesn't matter. To me, the Syrians are welcome. This should not be the issue. The issue is the double think we're doing. Syria has a civil war going on, therefore they are refugees, therefore they are welcome. Ukraine is a safe country. How on God's green earth can we consider Ukraine a safe country? Not too long ago, people from Morocco were still welcomed to Germany as refugees because Morocco is not a safe country. I'm sorry, compare Morocco to the Ukraine. The comparison between Syria and the Ukraine doesn't go far off. There is a little bit more fighting going on in Syria, and the fighters there are way more heinous because ISIS tends to behead those that disagree with them, and Russia doesn't. But in the end, people are being displaced. There is still a civil war going on in Ukraine. We don't hear that much about it, probably because it's not that newsworthy, or maybe because if the media in Europe would put more attention to it, people in Europe would start recognizing what's going on. I give you the following challenge. Try to find information about the situation in the Ukraine and then try to find information about the Ukrainian refugees. And try to find it from 2016 and onward. And then when you type in, for example, Ukrainian refugees in Europe, count the number of Syrian refugees in Europe you will actually find. And compare that to the amounts of Ukrainian refugees you will find when looking for Ukrainian refugees. Anyway, this is my rant. I hope people will start thinking about this a little bit more. Criticism, as always, is more than welcome. Please like, subscribe, and share. Well, share might be the most important one of those. Anyway, keep your eyes open and try to remember that not everyone is bad out there. There are plenty of Syrians who actually need our aid. There are plenty of people from the Ukraine that actually need our aid. Let's try to spread the help around. And not like we're doing now, sending 6 billion to Turkey and 300 million to Ukraine for basically the same problem.